Welcome to my podcast.
#I am writing.
My name is Marie Campbell. I'm single, retired, and live in Sydney with my 2 Tonkinese cats, Mimi and Ziva.
#I am writing is an account of my personal journey about the joy and pain writing, pitching, and promoting my first book and screenplay.
I was in my 60s when I decided to write my first book, and it was as a result of dramatic circumstances. My Jamaican mother had a near-death experience and was admitted to the intensive care unit of our local hospital in Brighton. For those that don't know, Brighton is approximately 50 miles outside of London on the southeast coast of England. As Mum slowly recovered, I realised had she died, so also would the chance for me to find out about her past, her family in Jamaica, and of great importance to me who my father was, information she had resolutely refused to share with me. So I decided to find out for myself. I eventually traced Mum's family, and what I discovered filled me with such awe and admiration for her that I wanted future generations of my family to know something about this remarkable woman, and also to know about their heritage. So without any prior experience in writing, I started my first book, and once I finished the book, again without any prior experience, I started on the screenplay. I was convinced the story would make a great movie with international appeal. I thought it worth sharing my experience as a new writer, since it may help other newbies who are thinking about writing either a book or a screenplay from making the same mistakes I did. I'll tell you honestly about the highs, the lows, the successes, the mistakes, and sometimes the luck I had with both projects. Each of the podcasts will cover a different aspect of my journey. They are not a how-to guide on writing. They're simply a personal account of my writing journey for my book, Olga, A Daughter's Tale, and the screenplay, Olga. A journey that has brought joy and frustration in unequal measure. Some joy and an awful lot of frustration. So here we go, Episode 1. Things I wish I'd known before I started writing. Until I wanted to write my mother's story, I had no aspirations to be a writer. With my lack of experience, one could be forgiven for thinking I was somewhat misguided to attempt such projects. I didn't stop to think about the challenges I'd run into. The actual writing of the book didn't present many problems to me, and I think that was because I was writing about someone close to me and I knew them well, even if they did have secrets. I chose to self-publish my book, and I have no regrets about that. But I wish I'd known beforehand how challenging and difficult it was going to be to do the promotional work for the book. I wasn't exactly under the illusion that once uploaded to Amazon, my book was going to sell like crazy and fly off the bookshelf. But I hadn't counted on the amount of time I would have to invest in promoting it. I cannot underestimate the energy, commitment, and creative thinking one needs to continually work at to promote a book, particularly if it's not selling. It's exhausting. In a later episode, I will talk about the various promotional strategies I used to try and generate sales, of which some worked, some didn't, and a couple were well and truly outside the box. For me, this was without a doubt the hardest part of my book project, and it's still ongoing. As far as my screenplay was concerned, I was aware that it was virtually impossible for an unknown screenwriter to get their screenplay produced. I was told the first question financial investors asked about a screenplay is, who wrote it? Not what's the story about. Taking a risk on an unknown writer is something that seldom happens. I knew this, but I believed the story was powerful and relevant enough that it would pique interest, enough to provide development funds so the screenplay could be optioned. I thought naively writing a screenplay was pretty much the same as writing a book, but with more dialogue. How wrong I was. I loved writing the book because it gave me the freedom to describe everything: behaviours, characters, emotions of the characters, their actions, thoughts, foibles, weaknesses, strengths, the weather, the scenery, and it covered a 20-year time span. Although I was writing the same story about the same people, the screenplay did not give me those same opportunities. It was such a different writing experience. Seriously, I should have taken the trouble to study the difference between the two formats before I started writing either. It would have saved me a lot of time and angst. As it was, the book took me 6 months to write, and the screenplay 3.5 years. A book is about telling a story. A screenplay is about showing the story. That's the basic difference between a book and a screenplay. One tells and one shows. And of course, I knew nothing about the many technical and structural rules a screenplay has that you cannot mess with if you want to sell it. I didn't even know that a screenplay should ideally be between 90 to 120 pages long. The first draft I sent for analysis was 160 pages. Rule of thumb: a page is equal to 1 minute of screen time. A book can be as long as you want it. There are no restrictions. I also didn't know that there's one attribute I'd need above all others when it comes to writing, regardless of whatever it is you're writing, and that is resilience. Resilience enables you to cope with the disappointment of what seems like endless rejections. It also enables you to bounce back when you've been tantalizingly close to an option on the film rights to your book and screenplay, only for it to fall over at the last minute. Yep, that happened to me. But more about that in a later episode. If you're thinking how ill prepared I was for the writing tasks I was embarking on, you'd be right. I never asked myself at the beginning of each project, "How's this going to work, Marie?" I just dived straight in, with only a minimum amount of preparation, and I do not recommend it. But there is an upside. Being on this writing journey has been character building. It's taught me 3 things in spades: patience, perseverance, and never to take no for an answer. Attributes I didn't have before I started writing. In hindsight, now that I've completed both projects, I think maybe it was a good thing I wasn't aware of the obstacles that lay ahead, because I might have changed my mind about doing the projects and missed out on not only discovering that I could write, but also the most rewarding, challenging, frustrating, and exhilarating experience of my life.
Tune in to episode 2, when I talk about how I researched my family's history, heritage and folklore in Jamaica and Great Britain, circa late 19th, early 20th century. If you have any comments or feedback, you can contact me at mariecampbell43@gmail.com. Until next time,
Thank you and goodbye.